Susan Ariel Rainbow Kennedy, also known as SARK, has been my favorite author since her book Succulent Wild Woman set my spirit free over 20 years ago. So it was a great honor to have the opportunity to sit down and talk with her about her most recent book, Succulent Wild Love, as well as her grief process surrounding the death of her co-author and fiancé, Dr. John Daly. I hope you'll enjoy the interview. Your most recent book is called Succulent Wild Love: 6 Powerful Habits for Feeling More Love More Often. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, it's a whole new philosophy of love and relationships for everyone. And John would want everyone to know that this is a very practical book.
Speaking of John,
yes,
some people may not know that was your fiancé and the book's co-author, and he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer the day after you turned in the completed manuscript for the book, and then died several months later, just after the promotional time of the book ended. And you said that this turn of events has inspired you to practice the 6 habits from Succulent Wild Love in ways that you never imagined. Can you tell us about that?
well, yes, we are really a living laboratory of love and practice these. It was my 3 core teachings and John's 3 core teachings that we married together into the 6 habits. And so we were living those, but never imagining that there would be this terminal diagnosis and this major challenge. And in the 9 months that I took care of him, I was the primary caregiver. We talked frequently about, thank heavens we wrote this book, and that we know what these habits are and how to practice them. To feel more love more often, because there couldn't be a more challenging situation.
Yes.
Yeah, and John really was a master unconditional. He was a master at unconditional love. He really was, and we both thought that the whole point was to keep his body, but I think his spiritual journey was to release his body and be able to practice unconditional love from a much bigger vantage point.
And since John left his physical body, you've said that you are grieving deeply and living wildly, both like bird wings. And I just love that image, and I'm curious what that looks like on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, I asked John, I said, we had what I didn't know was our last conversation, but I call it now the holy hour. And I said to him, John, how can I possibly go on without you? I mean, I'd never spent so much time with another human being. I didn't meet him until I was 58, and so I felt like this is the rest of my life now. We're engaged to be married, and he's my guy. And so I said, how can I go on without you? And he had to be propped up at that point, but he sat up and he was just radiant, and he said, oh, Susan, you get as happy as you can possibly get. You get happier than you've ever been. He said, you get so happy. And when love comes again, you go full speed ahead towards it. And so I feel like it's like a legacy now of it. I felt like, all right. And I took a look at everything in my life. What needed to change? I changed my work life. I changed what I was eating. I changed, I've been joking that I'm now living the life that everyone thought I was living all along. I'm accepting all the invitations. I'm going to new things. I'm making new friends. I'm experimenting. I'm adventuring. I'm going on hikes. I've been so happy that I barely had time to work.
Wow.
Yeah. And in counterpoint to that, I'm sadder than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like, because there are times that it's just it's the most devastating thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
No one can imagine. No. And I even tried to imagine, because it was my worst fear. I thought, oh no, what if you love someone, excuse me, and then they just die?
Yeah.
Better not love someone. That was my idea.
Yeah.
Easier not to love someone. But wow, I wouldn't have given this up for anything.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, and people have said, this is such a tragedy. You had such a short time together, 3.5 years. And I always answer, are you kidding? I'm amazed it happened at all. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing. I love your perspective on it, and that it's really focusing on the positive.
Oh, well, if you lived with John and you didn't focus on the positive, heaven help you. I mean, that man was relentless in his focus on the positive. And, he wasn't, what would you call it? What I joke and say, I hate mindlessly positive people annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't like that, but he just kept focusing, refocusing. I mean, he lived a silver lining. He wasn't just looking for the silver lining. He lived it.
Mm. And what advice or encouragement would you offer to people who are having a hard time finding that silver lining and having the more wild living part of the pair of bird wings?
Well, I really would. I really will say this book, Succulent Wild Love, because these 6 habits and how to practice them are really remarkable in their ability to have people make shifts in their life. And I've watched it, and I'm listening to it now as people are reading and practicing, and joyful solutions, and they're going beyond compromise, and they're learning how their partner is perfect, and they're learning how they themselves are perfect. I mean, it's so exciting, and it's really all of our opportunity. There's a million things to be upset about. A billion. Let's just, there are uncountable numbers of things to be upset about, and things to really deal with.
Yeah.
And if we're able to practice habits like these in this book and other ways, that the whole world gets better. Because if we're not doing that, excuse me, we feel awful, and we can't do as much good as we might like.
And I really like the part of the book that's about really honoring your feelings wherever you are.
Oh my goodness. And here's the thing. The idea is to not feel good all the time. That's just stupid.
Right.
We need to feel really bad. We need to go all the way down to the tips of our toes, and I have felt despair unlike I've ever felt. We do need to go there, but we don't need to stay there. And we don't need to spend as much time there. People get stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's being able to hold both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, hold them and live in them. I call it the marvelous messy middle.
Yes.
Sometimes more messy than others.
Right. You recently shared a very touching update on Facebook, and it's just really powerful for me to witness through your words what you're going through and your perspective on it, because it's so unique and just empowered for knowing that you are feeling that deep grief, and then for you to be able to bring forward that perspective. And so I wanted to share what you wrote just recently, which is: there are feelings of relief, great humor, indelible kindness, exquisite tenderness, mixed in with despair, self-torturing thoughts, pure physical missing, wailing in the bathtub, falling to the ground in agony, and living with the physical absence of him in every instant. So when that despair descends, how do you deal? How do you be with it?
Well, I think you do fall to the ground, and I think you do wail in the bathtub, and I think you do call friends and sob, and I think, you as much as possible occupy those feelings when they arrive and live with them.
Instead of
instead of resisting them, instead of trying to get away from them, instead of pushing them away.
Yeah.
And it's very tempting because it feels terrible.
Yeah.
But what I have learned, it's just same thing as the ocean. If you go towards the wave, you can dive into it and come out the other side. If you try to run, the wave is going to get you. I mean, and it's like, I'm really grieving in a new paradigm. And this is available for everyone.
Yeah.
To really grieve deeply and live wildly, whatever wildly means to them. Some people might not want to go and do lots of activities. I mean, I'm just someone that has always wondered what would it be like to to have more adventures and meet more people and do more things. And, 7,000 people extended invitations to me, and I've been accepting them.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, I'm going to go to a treehouse in Mill Valley, and I'm going to go, I've been going all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've also said that you are communicating with John Daly in the spiritual realms. What does that look like, and how do his messages come through?
Yes. Well, I've long been someone, I've always been someone my whole life that has seen things that other people didn't see. And I knew that John would probably, I asked him, we came up with 3 things that he would do after he died so that I would know that it was really him. And he did them all the next day. But as much as I'm someone that's unusual and that's a believer in such things, I also am a skeptic.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, that is crazy. People are, as much as I want to believe it, I work with a woman who's a channel, a medium, who communicates with people who have died. And she said the next day, he was in the session, and he said, didn't Susan love that I did all 3 things right away? And I hadn't told her anything about the 3 things, and so that was a little startling, and I admitted to her, well, I really think I just willed them.
Or can you give us one of the things?
No, I've decided that I'm going to reveal it at some later point. I haven't told anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels somehow very almost sacred that we talked about it together. Mm-hmm. But they were unusual things. They were not like a candle blowing out or a book falling over. They were things that nobody, there was no way that I could have willed those.
Yeah.
But I still did not believe that it was possible.
Yeah.
But 2 days after he died, I had a party here at the house. I wanted to fill the house with flowers and children and music and good food and we had this wonderful party, and my friend Amy brought her little daughter, I'm very close to. Her name is Evie Rose. And she's 2 years old, and she came up the stairs, and at that point there was a coat rack with some jackets hanging on it. And she went right up to one of the jackets and said, "What's this?" And I said, "That's John's jacket." And then she reached behind and touched another jacket and said, "What's this?" I said, "That's John's jacket too." And then her mother and I traded kind of a poignant look, like child touching John's jackets. and I didn't think anything more about it. Well, in the session with the channel, after she said, "John wants to know, didn't you like that he did all 3 things right away?" She then started laughing and said, "John says, didn't you see what I did with Evie Rose and the jackets?"
Oh my gosh.
She didn't know there was a child named Evie Rose. She didn't know there were jackets. She didn't know there was a dinner. That was so startling to me that that actually changed everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not, and I don't care who believes this. I mean, I'm not out to convince people. However, I know there are people that know this, and I know it now.
Yeah.
So he's doing things every day.
Wow.
He's doing things every day. And it's become so expected now that I'm talking to him. He's mentoring people. He's telling me, tell people that they can call on me. I'm very available. People are using him in their relationships. They're practicing the things in the book, and then they're saying, "John, how do I do a joyful solution?" And he comes right in and says things. So he's very busy.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful that he's been so visible. He's sent me song lyrics. He's bought me gifts. He contacted an author friend of ours and had her bring a necklace to the celebration of his life, which I'm wearing right now. Woke her up out of a dream and said, "Go buy this necklace. Here's the jewelry store. This is how much it costs, and this is what it looks like." And she said she tried to say no to him, and she said he's very persistent, which he was.
Yeah.
And I could just go on and on.
Wow, it's so remarkable. And I also love how you call it that you're learning his vibrational language.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I feel him. I have sensations. There's so many things in the home here in the home that have he's spoken through them.
Yeah.
And there's a vibrational language. That is the description of it.
And do you think that the kind of communication that you're having with him is available to all of us with people who have passed on?
I do, for anyone that wants it. Now,
Yeah.
some people are scared of it, and some people are so adamantly don't believe in it that they wouldn't be able to hear anything.
Right. And you already, both of you are doing so much work, just intuitive work, and really in other realms in this plane that it kind of makes sense. So it's, you got to be open to it to go there.
But there's so many exciting books. You know, you've been publishing many of them.
Yeah, Seeking Jordan. That's a
Seeking
good
Jordan is fantastic.
Yeah.
Automatic writing, complete relationship with his son.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's been happening around me so much more that I'm especially tuned into it, but it just seems like a next level in kind of spiritual growth and development and consciousness, that it really is. It's not just we're all one here, we're all one with everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's very clear to me that death is not what we think it is.
Yeah.
It's very clear.
And the spiritual work that we do here is preparation for that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I plan to be as happy to die as I possibly can.
Mm. Wow, that's powerful. Wow. And what would you say is the most important thing that you've learned so far from your succulent wild love relationship with John that's ongoing?
Yeah, that there's literally no end. That it, you know, I've joked about it, but there's benefits to having a non-physical partner. Or beyond the physical partner. Probably that that my capacity for love was so much greater than I ever knew, that I had mortal fears of someone dying and taking care of someone. I joked with him. I said, "Great, you did them both. I was your caregiver, and you know."
Yeah.
He never thought he was dying, though.
Yeah.
He was adamant that he was not dying. And so I had this very strong awareness that in my world, he was dying. And so I learned that love is everything. I mean, we've all, you know, I think we all know it, but then we think something will come and show us that love is not everything. But love is literally everything. And I could feel John, by the way. He just went through, I just heard.
I got chills.
You did?
Yeah.
I just heard a very strange thing. Like he went, I don't know. So, yeah, the physical missing is the toughest.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's the one there's no answer. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that part.
Right.
And I remember, but he's my wonderful mentor because he had the most wonderful wife, Jeannie, and he met me 9 months after she died. And so I know, and he has said in multiple ways that he's bringing me someone. So I'm ready. My heart is open.
Mm. Thank you for keeping your heart open and for just always so openly sharing your life and your heart and your journey with the world. I love you.
Oh, thank you, Kim. Well, it's my joy and my privilege, and it's my purpose. I mean, I'm a transformer, uplifter, laser beam of love. You got to do that all the time, not just when you have to do it when people die and people get sick and people leave. And my wonderful mentor said, never make the mistake of attaching love to a person.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from a person; it comes through a person. So in that sense, we are all love-filled, and we all have constant access to love inside of ourselves. And we are our longest-lasting relationship.
Yes.
I mean, the succulent wild relationship for each of us is unending.
Yes.
Yeah.